Good afternoon and welcome. Listen, first of all, before we start, happy Christmas. I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas Day and Boxing Day. Made better, of course, if you're a Gooner and watched that last night or were lucky enough to go to the game like myself. Unbelievable scenes. Great stuff to see. Before we get into it properly, make sure you do me a favor. Please smash a like on the video and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We're almost at 6.5K. I'd love to get that up to 7K as close to the new year going into 2023 as we can. Big up everyone for watching. Big up for watching live. And big up for watching on catch up. Much appreciate all your support and love. We're going to talk about last night's game. I got in quite late last night because there was a lot of stuff that had to happen after the game, of course, and there was a lot of people I need to speak to and speak with. This was a performance that pleased me for a number of reasons. We're going to go into that in a little bit more detail. I must admit, going into this game, everybody had a little bit of nerves. I don't know that there's any Arsenal fan that can confidently say that they expected 3 points and it was going to be a walk in the park. You never really get a stroll in the park in the Premier League, if I'm honest with you. And I certainly thought that we were going to get uh, told or shown that last night, particularly in that first half. Let's start from the off with the team news of Arsenal. Now, the team news didn't really shock too many people. Maybe there were some surprise additions in relation to Saliba. A lot of people were suggesting that, particularly on Sky Sports News, that he wasn't back yet and he wasn't ready yet. Well, all of those rumours got squashed when the team news come out, and he, of course, was in the back line. Zinchenko on the bench meant that Kieran Tierney got a start, and to be fair, I was happy with that, not just because I rate him, but also because he's been performing in the mid-season Dubai Cup, and of course, kept his place. Now, with that back line, I think everybody was fairly confident. I think Ben White has been superb and was again last night. And likewise, Gabriel and Saliba have formed a partnership now that really does complement each other. And Kieran Tierney, a lot of people were suggesting that that inverted role that Zinchenko does so well, he's starting to get a bit better at. I think Kieran Tierney is a very good player and very committed. And again, last night, I thought showed a lot of strength and character. Then we move into midfield, and I'm going to talk a lot about this midfield trio today because for me, they were superb. Granit Xhaka, Martin Odegaard, and Thomas Partey. It was as if they had no time off whatsoever and that they were literally continuing from where they left off. The front three, though, was everybody's worry and concern. We've had a front three over the last few games in our friendlies that, let's be honest, we were a little bit disappointed with or concerned with or maybe frustrated with. And all those words come to mind when I'm thinking of that front three with the likes of Fabio Vieira, Marquinhos at some stage coming into the mix in these friendlies, and of course Eddie Nketiah as well as Reece Nelson up top. And I don't think anybody was flattered by any of it. I don't think anybody was excited. Fabio Vieira had a really good few games. We've got to remember that Fabio Vieira had no pre-season, so was using that perhaps as more of a pre-season towards the rest of his season. But the three that we saw were Saka and Martinelli back, who we're going to come into massively because I thought they were so important last night. And of course, Eddie Nketiah that everyone's been talking about. Even if you're not an Arsenal fan, at the moment, people are talking about Eddie Nketiah. Why? Because Kieran Tierney, because Gabriel Jesus is, of course, out. So everybody was talking about, is Eddie Nketiah going to be good enough? Is he going to get the goals? Is he going to be able to take Arsenal forward in what at the moment is a title race? Now, I have my doubts over Eddie Nketiah. I still do. I look at him and think that there's a lot of things I like. There's a lot of his game that I still think he needs to improve on. But we're going to come into his performance as well. No shocks in the team news, if I'm honest with you. I wasn't too sure if Saliba was going to be out, that perhaps we needed to look at the right back situation by putting Ben White back into the middle. Was Rob Holding going to come in? Was Martinelli going to play through the middle with Smith Rowe? Well, it turns out that Tomiyasu and Smith Rowe still aren't quite ready. So therefore, that squashed those rumours also. Zinchenko being on the bench was probably, as long with Fabio Vieira, the two only options I saw coming on and making any form of change to the team. But when we get the likes of Tomiyasu back, Emil Smith Rowe back, and dip our foot into the market, which we're going to come on to in January, I think that bench will look a hell of a lot stronger. And trust me, it really does need to. Big up to everyone in the chat. I hope you're all well. Happy holidays. I hope you're all doing good. CHB says, big up, bro. Big up yourself. Harvey says, hello, Dan. Hello, and happy Christmas to you, Harvey. Darren Ingram says, evening from Australia, Dan. I hope you're well, Darren, and happy Christmas to you too. Neil Gunner says, happy holidays all. Come on, you Gunners. And big up to Eros and Don Arsenal TV that are in the chat live as well. Listen, let's talk about the game, shall we? Our first half that I would say was very similar to the second half in terms of the domination of possession, but certainly not in terms of how clinical we were and what we were trying to create. We never really got going until the goal that was ruled out for VAR offside, which, to be fair, yeah, Eddie Nketiah and Saka didn't quite get that one right. Great finish, by the way, and a great bit of play back keeled from Eddie Nketiah. Good finish first time from Saka on his weaker foot. But what I will say is that, yeah, they got that one right. But then there was a few VAR decisions, wasn't there? There was a few penalty incidents that watching live I weren't quite sure about. I didn't know without seeing it again whether there was a huge mistake, whether they got it right, whether they felt that perhaps there was some controversy in both of those decisions. Let's start with the penalty that they were given. When I saw it live first time, I thought penalty straight away. I thought, I love you, Saliba, but I think you've got that one wrong. I think you've timed it wrong. Having looked at it again, I can see why people think it's soft, but actually, I think it's right. I think it's the right decision. I think Saliba has to make his decision more clear cut than that and just go for it. Um, the minute he hesitates is the minute that that's going to be given as a penalty, and unfortunately, it was. Said Ben Rama, a player that I thought could cause some problems for West Ham, from West Ham against Arsenal, I felt was a good penalty. Kept it simple, went down the middle, sent Ramsdale one way or the other, and he just puts it down the middle when it's 1-0 West Ham. And I couldn't help but feeling that they didn't deserve that. I couldn't help but feeling that perhaps they were lucky to be going 1-0 up. I didn't feel like they had domination of possession. I didn't think they had nice periods of play. I didn't really see a style of play. I saw a lot of lumping it up to Antonio, a lot of bullying from Souček, a lot of lumping it long from both Dawson and their fullbacks. And I didn't really see that there was any part of the game that they were causing us issues with, if I'm honest with you. I felt the opposite, particularly down the left-hand side in the first half. Both Soufal and Joe and Bowen both got a yellow card booking because they could not handle Martinelli. They literally couldn't handle him. And I felt that throughout the first half, Martinelli and Saka had quite a lot of the ball, but were passing back inside to the midfield trio because they just could not get, for whatever reason, or have the confidence to at least get past Soufal and Creswell, who I thought actually did okay for parts of the first half. Now, our midfield trio, I'm going to come on to in a little bit more detail, but in the second half, it got even better. But they were the only reason, or the main reason, that I had confidence in the first half, because it felt to me as if that was the domination area. The possession was coming throughout all three of those players. And to be fair, guys, you could have picked either of those three players and said they got man of the match. Partey, Odegaard, and Xhaka, all three of them were outstanding in parts of what they did, right? So when Saka and Martinelli were coming back inside, I was getting a little frustrated. I didn't feel like Eddie was being found. I thought the running was actually quite good, but there's a lack of telepathy still between his teammates as to know where he's actually running. He's running around quite a lot. He's trying to make space. He's trying to create space for others to find him, but they're just not. And that, I think, is something he needs to try and work on and improve. That will only come with more game time and stuff in training. But I will say that his running and intensity and his energy has never been questioned. Um, then, right on half time, we get a penalty. Now, when I saw it, it was on the other end to me. I sit in the North Bank. This happened at the clock end, and I had no idea whether that had hit his hand or not. But what I will say is that when Michael Oliver gives Arsenal a penalty, it's probably a penalty. Um, Goes over to the screen. I straight away know it's not going to be given, and let's just get to half time and see how we can turn this game around. When you look at it, it hits Crespo in the face. I'm not actually sure why or how Michael Oliver gives that in the first place, if I'm honest with you. On the replay that was shown in the ground, it looks like his hands are up here, but the ball actually does hit his head. So fair play. And that one was chalked off, and rightly so. We go into half time and there's a lot of doom and gloom around the result, but not so much around the performance. And I really do feel that we deserve to give a lot of the team credit for how they did perform in that second half. I'm going to start by bigging up Mikel Arteta, because it would have been quite easy to try and make changes or to try and say this ain't working. But he stuck with it and he thought, yeah, knock on the door because it is going to come down. Cresswell and Soufal, they were poor in the second half. Defensively, West Ham were all over the place, Dawson, etc. Fabianski will come on to the reasons as to why he'll be disappointed. But that midfield trio that Arsenal had absolutely battered West Ham. Declan Rice, Paqueta, and Souček, they just had no chance. Honestly, Souček was getting run round ragged. Rice was getting pushed off the ball. Paqueta, I thought, was very, very poor for West Ham and had a poor World Cup. And to me, doesn't look like a great signing so far. A lot can change, but for me, I don't think much changed in the second half in terms of the domination from Arsenal, but certainly we managed to create some chances. When you've got all the ball, you're going to create stuff. You need to put it away. And actually, I think it's fair to say, and I'm sure you'll agree with me in the chat, Arsenal got a little bit lucky with their goals. Now, I don't think we could deserved not to score. I think we were the better side and we deserved to win the game and certainly deserved to win the game by that goal line, score line, sorry. But um, Erdegaard takes a really poor shot and it falls to Bukayo Saka. Now, Bukayo Saka slots it home with the composure and magnificent passing into that corner. I was a big fan of it. I really was. But I know for a fact that that was deserved because we were all over them. And that second half, we come out fighting. West Ham looked to be a little bit shell shocked by that, and that allowed us to keep possession and go on to get the second. Now, I'm a big fan of Lucas Fabianski. I think since he's left Arsenal, he's actually become quite a consistently good Premier League goalkeeper. He's been established in the Premier League with Swansea and West Ham, and he's somebody that you can normally rely on. Really good at shot stopping. I think he has good command of his area. He's actually not so bad at penalty saves. You always fancy a chance with him. But I'm sorry, he's got to do better for me. Great piece of play. Martinelli, to be fair, was causing a nuisance down that left-hand side for West Ham all day, all night. But he's got to do better. To get beat at your near post like that, I think it shocked everybody in the stadium that he went in. But then something rather strange happened. I saw our old manager on the screen clapping and getting excited and celebrating. Arsene Wenger was in the ground, along with both Stan and Josh Kroenke. It was like a happy Christmas and a great result for them to see. But what is that going on? What is happening there? I honestly believe that Arsene Wenger is rumoured to be coming back, and I think something will happen. I don't know what. I don't know what role. I don't know if he will do. I don't know if it's going to be an ambassador role. I don't know if it's going to be some form of place to sit on the board. I don't know if he's going to get involved heavily with Mikel Arteta or if he's just going to be in and around the club. But for me, I think it would be only right that it happens. I don't want Arsene Wenger in control of things again because we've been there and done that. But if Arsene Wenger's happy to sit there and be some form involved with the Arsenal again, I'm more than happy. Somebody at 22 years to only come back now is sad. It's really sad. And it's a shame because Arsene Wenger and Sir Alex Ferguson will always be remembered as two of the greats in Premier League history. And it should always be that he's welcome back anytime he wants at the Emirates. And I hope that something happens for him because for me, it would only be good things. The man you can learn off of Arsene Wenger's experience, I think for a young, experienced manager like Mikel Arteta, who's learning every day, by the way, I think it will only be good things. So let's see what happens there. AMT, big up yourself. Thanks for your super chat. Get your super chats in, people, and ask me anything that you need. AMT says, you make your own luck. It was deserved. Be happy. Absolutely, we are. And I think that when you look at how lucky some of the players that some of the teams have been against Arsenal, yeah, we ain't going to sit there and complain. Big up to Wilson, who's in the house as well. And big up to Nick as well. Wenger deserves a statue. I think it'll happen. I think it has to happen. I don't know how it can't happen. You know, if Herbert Chapman gets one, rightly so. I think George Graham and Arsene Wenger both deserve one as well for what they've won at the club and how they transformed Arsenal as well. So let's see what happens. So it's 2-1 to the Arsenal. There's a lift in the stadium. Arsene Wenger's on screen. Both the Cronkies are there. All the fans are buzzing. We've managed to do something which yet again is a big progression on last season. And what is that? We bounce back. We have bounced back and shown bounce back ability, as Ian Dowie always said. I love that word in football. Bounce back ability that Arsenal have shown, for me, has happened twice already at the Emirates this season. Once against Fulham going 1-0 down, and last night against West Ham going 1-0 down. And we only managed to come from behind once in the whole of last season against Wolves. Going 1-0 down and managing to win the game only happened against Wolves last season. We've already seen it twice at the Emirates this season. And when Leicester and Aston Villa scored one back, we hit back immediately to ensure that we still had the lead. And that, for me, has been a massive progression on last season. People have spoken to me highly about what's changed for you this season. You've been very critical of Arteta in this regime. Yeah, I have. Do you know what's changed for me? The stuff that's happening that I've praised off the pitch is now starting to show on the pitch. The reasons why we had to do X, Y, and Z is now becoming clear. I think when you look at what's happened with the removal of the culture, with the fans connect with the players and the fans and the manager and the board and everybody singing off the same song sheet, the mentality has become levels above what we need. Yes, the players have improved. I would say Saliba, Jesus, and Zinchenko. That's the easy option for me. There's a lot more than that. There's a lot more deep down that's improved this season. The mentality and the way that we've shown that we can be together and actually come from behind and win a game of football, which is something we haven't been able to do. Some people might think that's easy. Loads of teams do that. Yeah, well, Arsenal weren't doing it last season. We were going 1-0 down, and it was either 1-1 if we're lucky, or we lose the game 1-0, or sometimes even more than that. We need to look at the reasons as to why we progress so much, and it is blind to say it's just Jesus. We didn't have Jesus last night, and that leads me on nicely to our third goal. Probably my favourite goal of the night. Um, Great bit of play from Bukayo Saka. Manages to shove Declan Rice off. You know, Lawless was on here saying, and on AFTV saying that Bukayo Saka needs to bulk up. He's a weakling. Well, I'm sorry, mate. He put Declan Rice on his backside. Then a great piece of play from Arsenal and a fantastic pass. And probably the move of the game for me. That turn from Eddie Nketiah remind me of Ian Wright in his heyday. I look at those moments and think, yeah, Eddie has got something. Unbelievable finish to slot it home. And that, if that happens with, let's say, Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, Messi, Ronaldo, those players make that turn. Yeah, everyone's going nuts about it. So big up to Eddie. He deserves his praise. He deserves his flowers. And to be fair to him, he's had a lot of critics. And he's come out and shut a few of them up last night because a lot of people were saying straight away around me, oh, we miss Jesus, don't we? Oh, Jesus, where is he? No, let's big up Eddie for that because for me, I needed to see him score. I wanted it for him. I wanted it for Arsenal fans. I wanted it for the club. And the confidence that will give him, I think is absolutely superb. So for me, really happy with Eddie's goal. And that just completely killed the game and shell-shocked West Ham. They had a chance at the end of the game, to be fair, that we have to big up Aaron Ramsdale for. Sometimes when you don't have too much to do as a goalkeeper, you can get caught out in those moments. But it shows his level of mentality and his focus throughout that game to know that actually Aaron Ramsdale was there and was ready. I think there's a lot that we can take from last night's game. We've shut up a lot of critics. Everybody wanted Arsenal to fail as soon as they got back from the World Cup because they all think we're going to drop off a cliff. We need to prove that we aren't going to do that. Now, I'm looking at this team at the moment, guys, and I'm thinking yesterday in particular, this midfield trio deserves the utmost of respect and praise that it ever has. And the reason I say that is this. I've always been a big fan of both Liverpool and Man City's midfield over the last few seasons. When you look at what Liverpool have done with Fabinho, Thiago, and Jordan Henderson, and you look at what Rodri and Gundogan have done with Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, you're all going to say, what a midfield. I would say that individually, they probably do have better players and have had for the last couple of seasons. But as a collective, what Erdegaard, Partey, and Xhaka are bringing to the Arsenal at the moment is the best in the league. It is the most complete. For me, it complements each other. And when Granit Xhaka, in his more progressive role, is showing consistent performances like that, he makes Thomas Partey better. When Thomas Partey, who in my opinion is elite in his position, is playing the way he is, it complements both Xhaka and Martin Erdegaard. And Martin Erdegaard is being allowed, because of Xhaka and Partey's quality, to be instrumental in midfield. And last night, we saw an absolutely breathtaking performance in parts. I think he's magnificent on the ball. I really do love the way he strives. He drives forward. He looks to make things happen. And at the moment, it's fair to say that everything good that's happening with Arsenal Football Club at the moment, with scoring goals, is to do with Martin Erdegaard. There is a lot that I'm liking from him. I was one of his critics, not because of how poor I thought he was, because I didn't see enough quality in terms of goals and assists from him. I think last season he got 4 goals and 7 assists, something like that. This season, he's our top goal scorer. He's getting assists. He's being consistently good. And more importantly, he's doing it against all teams. He isn't just turning up against West Ham on a nice evening. He isn't going and doing it at home to Forest. He's actually going away from home and being instrumental too. I've seen him perform very, very well in big games. I've seen him perform very well against good big clubs. And for me, I look at him right at the moment and think, yeah, I can see why now there was something special about you. At 24 years old, we've still got the best years for him to come. And I'm a big fan of Premier League attacking midfielders. I really like what I see from him. I love Kevin De Bruyne, and I always have rated and still rate James Maddison. When I'm seeing him put in performances, you can't sit there and say that we need a De Bruyne or a Maddison when he's putting in performances like that. So long may it continue, and big up to Martin Erdegaard. The last thing I'll say about Erdegaard is this. I was a little bit surprised that he got the captain's armband because I'm very old school with my leader and my captain. I like leaders to be vocal. I like leaders to be looked up to. I like leaders to have mentality that's winning. I looked at Martin Odegaard and thought, I wonder why he's got that armband. Yes, he's the national captain for Norway, but when the documentary came out, I didn't hear a peep from him. I didn't hear a peep from him the whole documentary. I didn't hear a peep from him in the dressing room. So I thought this is a very odd one. So I'll be interested to see why that's happened. Then I started watching the games and realized why he's captain. Now, I would have given it to Kieran Tierney personally because I feel like that's the sort of position that, player that we need that epitomizes everything that's right about winning mentality at the club. But I understand now why it's been given to Martin Odegaard because he's leading by example. The mentality he has, the G'ing them up on the pitch, the getting them together, there's an understanding and respect that people have for him. And it's different. It's not barking orders. It's not shouting and telling people where to be. It's a little bit more mental than physically, verbally shouting. And I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. I like a lot about him as a player. And I feel like he could be a really, really good piece of business from the last couple of seasons. I really do, and he deserves that from me because I have questioned him with his goals and assists. I think an attacking midfielder for Arsenal, I'm used to Bergkamp's, Paul Merson's, Santi Cazorla's, Fabregas's. I'm used to those names, and I need to see him up there with them. And I think that if he keeps going, he will be. He's been superb, and last night for me could have easily got man of the match. Um, so I want to talk a little bit now about where this leaves us and what we need. To wrap up, I think it's important to look at where we are in this table. It's very easy to get excited. It's very easy to get carried away. It's very easy to say Arsenal are going to win the league. We need to look realistically about how we allow that to have the best opportunity of happening. And I think we all know that something needs to happen in January. Something needs to happen in January, and it doesn't need to be something. It needs to be a number of things. I look at the bench, and it worries me in parts. Yes, we still have Smith Rowe and Tomiyasu to come back. I believe Zinchenko and Tierney is good cover at left back, and I think Fabio Vieira is going to come into the mix. So we've got 3 or 4 options there from the bench that you can look at and nod your head and say fair play. But there's a lot of other options that need upgrading. I loved what Kozia Dubry did in mid-season, but he's not who I want to be seeing coming on the bench, coming off from the bench. Marquinhos, for me, doesn't quite look ready. I think he looks nice, but he doesn't quite look ready to be coming on as a squad player. Ethan and Waneri, likewise, not really someone I want to be seeing coming on. Matt Smith, not somebody I want to be seeing coming on. All names that we've seen on the bench of late. We need to upgrade those names with players that we buy in January. The one player I want to mention quickly is Mudryk. Apparently, last night he was watching the game and following us on Instagram. And when Eddie scored, apparently he posted it. Now, he needs to work on his poker face, or he's coming to Arsenal. Now, Fabrizio Romano has said that Arsenal have put a bid in, or are at least preparing a bid. From what I'm hearing, the rumours are that it's between 40 to 60 million pounds with add-ons to make him an Arsenal player. We need to hope that's enough and hope that we've got enough to tempt Shakhtar Donetsk away from saying, right, Mudryk wants to come. His agents made it clear he wants to come. He's made it clear he wants to come personally. I think personal terms are agreed. It's just a matter of fee now. And I think that will be a fantastic signing. Now, he's not a centre forward. He's not going to replace Gabriel Jesus or Eddie Nketiah. But what he is going to do is give us competition out wide. When you look at what Saka and Martinelli are about, I'm loving what I'm seeing. Smith Rowe still to come back. What Mudryk does is he comes into that mix in that fold on the left winger as a 21-year-old who fits that implementation of young talent that we've been putting in the last couple of seasons. But actually it allows Martinelli to play as a false nine through the middle. I actually don't even know if he is an actual false nine. I think Martinelli can play both false nine and a number 9. I think he could be an out-and-out centre forward. I'm a big, big fan of what I see from this kid. I love everything about his play. I think there's a lot that I've seen over the last few games of him coming into the middle off of that left-hand side, which shows that he can do it. And people forget, don't they, that under Unai Emery, Martinelli played there in League Cup and Europa League games and scored 10 goals. So he is definitely able to play through the middle, which allows strength in depth wide if we sign Mudryk. Eddie Nketiah and Martinelli can take up that role if Gabriel Jesus is going to be out for long term, which we believe he probably will be around February time. The other option I'm hearing is João Felix on loan. I think both those signings would be superb. João Felix fits the mold. He's young. He's got talent. He's definitely that sort of position. He's not a big aerial threat, hold the ball up type. He can play like Gabriel Jesus in that false nine position. He can drop off deep. He can link up play. He can play wide. I think that would be a very good signing. They're talking about a loan deal because he's fallen out with Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid. And then, of course, that would then allow a big summer move of probably around 80 million plus because he's a highly rated youngster. Then, of course, we've got the rumours of Tielemans, who apparently was shocking yesterday for Leicester. A lot of people were saying they don't want him now. Some of the Leicester fans I've spoken to have said, listen, he's quality, but his just head's not in the game for Leicester. He wants a move and apparently wants to move to Arsenal in January. Now, if the rumours are true and we're going to be offering around 20 to 25 million, I think that will probably be enough for him to come to the Arsenal. I think Leicester won't want to sell, but I think they might know that they might have to sell, particularly if his head's completely gone. He doesn't want to be there. That would cover the Granit Xhaka position for me. I think it would either allow him to give competition within the first team or come in and play when one of them are injured. That would be a very good signing. 25-year-old Belgium international, Premier League proven, and again would be a very good signing. Danilo from Brazil, defensive midfielder, 21-year-old, highly rated from Palmeiras. Edu quite likes him. Called interest for our last few weeks, but I'm hearing his name pop up again. I do believe there's a position there in central defensive midfield that if Partey does get injured, we're going to struggle to cover. Now, it might be that we've called interest because we want Lokonga and El Neni to just come in for that rest of this season, and then we'll go in for Milinkovic-Savic, who's rumoured to come to Arsenal in the summer. Obviously, we're looking at summer moves for Evan Ndika, who's a centre-half that's left centre-back that can cover for Gabriel and upgrade on Rob Holding. But I think we're moving too far ahead then and looking towards summer as opposed to January. All I'll say is this, guys. We are being linked with the right positions. We need those players covered. We need the Tielemans area covered. We need the Thomas Partey cover. We need a centre forward. We need a wide forward. We need a left centre back. These are players that we are being linked with. They would all come in to the Arsenal right now and make us better. You might want to look in the summer and start going, do we need to replace Cedric if he goes? Maybe Tomiyasu isn't as fit. Maybe we need an overlapping right back. You know, the left centre-back midfielder, left centre-back coming in, the forward coming in. We can look at all that in the summer. Right now, if we get 2 or 3 to strengthen our midfield and forward positions, we are in a title race. We are in a title race because this first 11 is showing to me that it's got the mentality to win. This first 11 is also showing me that it's learned a lot on the last couple of seasons. The player development has been superb. The versatility has been an improvement. The mentality has been superb. I also love the bounce back ability of this team. I love the never say die attitude, and I love the togetherness. The celebrations with the fans, the celebrations for each goal, everybody loving Eddie's goal yesterday was great to see. The fact we turned it around was superb to see as well. I honestly believe that we have something special happening. And finally, people can start to get on to the Arteta bandwagon. For me, I've been a critic, and it hasn't just been of Arteta. I've been critical of Edu. I've been critical of the Cronkies. January's key for me. January will tell us where we are. It will show us where we are as a football club, and it will show everybody, the fans and everybody else, that this ownership is serious and it has serious ambition about going for a title. If we can get that, moving forward with 2 or 3 options in January, spending around 100 million to make sure we're in a title race, I'll say big up. I'm getting off everyone's back and they're all on the same song sheet. And that's what we need. We need the fan base to connect everybody going for one thing, the title. Make sure our feet are on the necks of the owners. We're in a title race here. We might not be next season, but at the moment we are. Let's go and make sure that we are come May and do everything we can. Because if we do everything we can and we miss out, I won't be frustrated. If we don't do everything we can and miss out, I will be. Because I feel like there'll be yet again another missed opportunity. How many times has a window closed and we've gone with 2 or 3 short again? Can't see that happening for me. So listen, Cronkies, go spend the money again because you have been in the last few windows. Get us the players we need. Allow Mikel Arteta and Edu to continue to do what they're doing from this season forward because it's been great. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of backtracking and think, what went wrong last season and now what's right? And that's how I went. When he came into the club, I wasn't a fan. Everybody knows that. I didn't want to see an unproven manager at the club because I felt we were in such a mess that we needed somebody with experience to get us out of it. I started to change very quickly when we won the FA Cup. And it's amazing because I actually saw a clip from 3 years ago now where I was saying, you've got to give this guy time. He's got a big job. It's very, very difficult. And it was like, is that me talking? It's unbelievable. But I wasn't a fan of it. I was willing to give him 6 months to see what he could do, to see who he could clear out, see what he could do, and he won the FA Cup. Then we started again, and I thought you brought Partey and Gabriel in. I'm a big fan of that because you've got your Campbell and Vieira replacement of the last 15 years, which we haven't had. I like that. And then I started to see the football, and I thought, oh, this isn't what I want to see. And it started to go very wrong very quickly. We were losing at home to Villa. We got absolutely thumped. I remember us losing to Burnley at home, Leicester at home, Everton at home, Wolves at home. I'm like, I'm done. I've seen enough. This is not where way we need to be going. Unai Emery was doing better with a worse team than this. What's going on? And then he stayed. And I thought, how? How is he staying? We lost to Villarreal. I didn't understand how he kept his job. Last season, we missed out on top four. Very lucky to still be in the job. But throughout that time of being lucky to still be in the job, he did do a lot of good things off the pitch. And I always praise that. Go back and watch it. I said, listen, on the pitch, I ain't going to give you any praise, buddy. But what I will do is off the pitch, I like what you've done with the players. You've removed the culture. You've got new players in. You've got a plan. Whether you can execute it is another story. I don't know that you will. But listen, he's starting to prove me wrong now that actually he can execute it. And for me, that's the biggest compliment I can give him is that he has never changed his tune. He's always stuck to his guns. And I've always been about consistency for me. Whether you've been a fan of what you're seeing or not, be consistent with it. Don't be flip-flopping and saying, oh, I like him now and I want him sacked again now. Oh, no, he can stay a bit longer and I want him sacked again now. Have a plan and stick with it. And that's what he's done. And fair play to him, man. I've had to hold my hands up. I've had to button it. I've had to say, no, Dan, stop being negative. Get with it. He's doing a good job. And there's not been one complaint from me this season, other than we were a bit naive at Old Trafford. That's been it. I was frustrated that we didn't get 3 points at Southampton, but to be fair, it was a VAR decision that should have gone our way. Likewise, at Old Trafford, it also should have gone our way. So let's get behind this team. Let's ensure that this continues. And I want all the fan base to get on side with a title race. None of these fans that accept that, oh, top four will still be all right. Now, if we come fourth this season, something's gone wrong, guys, right? So let's make sure that we look at getting close as we can to Man City. I want us to go into the Man City game on the 15th of February being either alongside them or ahead of them. Because that's why I know that things have gone right. This is going to be a very difficult period for us now. Brighton away on New Year's Eve is going to be horrible. Very, very tough game. We've got Manchester United. We've got Spurs. We've got Newcastle. It's going to be tough. But the way we're playing, I don't look at any of those games and think, I can't see a win there. Tottenham away is going to be difficult. It's a North London derby. Form goes out the window. Manchester United at home, they could be a different team under Ten Hag now. Ronaldo's gone. Newcastle, second in the league, absolutely flying. Very, very tough game at home. And Brighton away at the moment are playing very well under De Zerbi, who, to be fair, I thought we're going to have a dip after Potter went to Chelsea, but they haven't. So we've got 4 games there which are going to be very, very difficult. If we can come away from there with a head held high, knowing that we've given 110%, beaten the majority of them and not dropped points against many, I'll say, do you know what? This side are in a title race. And do you know what, guys? Everybody else will as well. All the media that don't believe in us at the moment, they'll say, wow, they've beaten Man United, West Ham, Newcastle, and Brighton, and they've drew against Tottenham, let's say. They're serious. They're for the title. Let's go and shut people up. Let's keep this going. That's what I want to be seeing. Big up everybody in the chat. Smash a like on your way out. Hit a subscribe button, please. We're almost on our way to 7K, and I really do want to get there in early 2023. So please help me on my way to that if you can. That would be amazing. Tomorrow night, all the guys are back. Race for Europe show is back. You got myself, you got Lawless. This will be fun. We got Tobes, we got Errol, we got Dan United, we got Lewis, and we've got Pete. We're all going to be talking about all of the results that have happened in the last couple of days, and of course, what's to come tonight and tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting one, guys. Do not go anywhere. Make sure you join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. live. We'll see you next time, and as always, up the Arsenal. Take care, guys, and have a great new year.